Good morning, good morning, good morning, and
And
welcome to successcafe.tv. My name's Paul Bursey, and I'm
and
with.
I'm Warren Connolly. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everybody.
Yeah, it's been a bit rushed today. I think we're both been doing other things, and I didn't sort of remember at the last moment, but I wasn't as prepared as I am normally. So today's title is making the tough decisions. Now, we all have to make tough decisions in our lives, but more importantly, we have to make, I don't know, 70 decisions a day that we don't even think about.
Whew.
And they're all important. Would you agree with that, Warren?
Yeah, I don't know if all decisions that we have to make are important decisions.
Well, you
Um,
mean making tea is not an important decision?
making sure that you leave on time to get back home because you left your phone at home is to get back home for your podcast in time is an important decision to make. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Look, yeah, I think we should give credence to every decision that we make. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
Otherwise, we should make them.
Yeah, otherwise just don't just sit
Some
in
are
your.
habits, though. They're not decisions. Some are habits, like cleaning teeth, you know,
Mhm.
eating breakfast.
And talking of tea, yeah, sometimes it's just the mug that you use to make to drink your tea out of. Yeah, you think you're making a decision, but you're actually not. It's a habitual
Yeah.
practice of
Yeah.
whichever mug you use. So it's that's not really a decision. That's just, as you say, that's just more habit than anything else.
So coming to the fork in the road, that's about making a decision. You can be at a fork of a road with a career or a
Hmm.
marriage or something else. And do you think that we take enough time to make the decision correctly at all?
Ooh, no, I don't think many people take more than enough time to make the right decisions. Sometimes we take too much time, and that
Yes.
can also be
Yeah.
detrimental to us because
Hmm.
we linger for so long that we we become too involved in the decision or in the thought process, and then we kind of lose translation. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think for the most part we don't give enough credit to the decision we're making by giving it time.
Yeah, and of course, when you make a decision, what you're hoping for is that you've made the best possible, or you're going to get the best possible outcome from making
True.
that decision. And I remember making, which I'm not going to go into any details because it probably upset me, but I made some decisions early in my life, and I'm talking early 20s, that really were bad decisions,
Okay.
really bad decisions, and
Oh yeah.
you know,
I think all of us can put our hands up to that when we've made in our
oh,
20s, we've made some pretty bad decisions. That's yeah.
choosing to buy the wrong house doesn't come near to what I'm talking about. Choosing the wrong job doesn't come
Doesn't
close,
come near to what I'm talking about.
right? So, but look, we need a bigger boost to our self confidence sometimes, and making
Mm.
great decisions makes us feel good as well. We actually got something right. So, is it without going into too deep details because we can get really deep on this one? Can you think of one really really good decision other than marrying your wife and having the child and that? Can you think of one really good decision that you made in your life?
Yeah. Accepting a job offer, on the other side of the world when I was in a really bad situation, in South Africa. So I think that was, I could have just stayed in my comfort zone and decided, no, I don't want to venture, to the Middle East, to a part of the world that I had absolutely very little idea about at the time. Um, but I made that decision to go for it, to stick my neck out there and venture out. Also, in saying that, in 1994, when I first started traveling overseas, I just made the decision at the time. I needed to travel. I needed to see somewhere else other than my own country, that I think was really the beginning for the rest of my life when I traveled overseas in 1994. That opened up so many doors for me personally, not in terms of opportunities, but just personally for me. Opened up doors about myself, my personality, and all of these kind of things. That was probably not the root decision that led to the rest of my life, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once I made that decision, I literally never went back. Once I made the decision to travel.
One of the questions I was going to ask you. Obviously, and can you think of one that you made that you can talk about that didn't go so well?
Yeah, that was also it was a moment of petulance in a sense that I resigned from my job, which was a pretty good job at the time, and
The same job
what's that?
That you went to the Middle East for?
No. This was in South Africa a few years prior to that. But yeah, I had this beautiful apartment, double-story duplex apartment across the road from the beach, in a coastal resort town, and I had a beautiful vintage Alfa Romeo, and I had a fairly good job as well. I worked in a really nice place. I was around professional athletes all the time, and just it was a really good thing, and then good place I was in. And then I made a petulant decision. I just made an impulsive decision that was completely, I misread what my impulses were telling me. And that ended up leading me down the road towards being homeless. Once I resigned from that job, I ended up losing everything. It was just one after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next, until it came to the time when I was selling my clothes on the side of the road to make money. Yeah.
So in other words, you jumped into a decision, and it turned out to be the wrong decision, and you kept going downwards.
Yeah, because there was a disciplinary factor around it. So I had made a couple of mistakes in my job, at my work, and so there was a mandatory disciplinary process that had to take place, and it was just mandatory. It had to happen. Yeah, especially when you're working for an international. Well, no, it wasn't at the time. It wasn't really international, but it was Virgin Active, so it was international. And so they have processes, and I just acted like a child, and I resigned. And that just led to a spiral, the cascade of things just falling to pieces around me.
Yeah, I think we've all done that, where we've acted a bit childish and thrown our teddy in the corner, as it were.
Yeah, throwing your toys out of the cot.
And you never win. But no, I found.
But look, Sorry. And I know you've also made some tough decisions in your life that have backfired. And sometimes these decisions, for all of us, it's an opportunity for us to learn something valuable about ourselves. Unfortunately, many of us don't learn those lessons first time around, do we? So
maybe we're not supposed to.
I don't know.
Maybe
not. I don't know about that. I think the lesson's there to be learned first time around, especially when it's a big ass lesson. Rather than knocking your head against it's like what I think was it Albert Einstein that coined the phrase. Definition of insanity is
doing the same thing over and over again,
expecting a different result, right? So yeah.
But when you make decisions, it's an opportunity for you to say something about yourself, isn't it? And what values you have. And I know by some of the early decisions I made that I was saying something bad about myself, and I didn't have the values I had weren't that very good.
Okay.
And I've worked on it since then, and it seems to have worked out quite well. Not in every area, but I'm happy where I am at the moment. But when I think back, I thought I was happy then, but obviously I wasn't. But it's impossible to know if the choices you make are 100% right or not. And you find out. Unfortunately, you find out later. You don't find out. Because as you say, you can procrastinate and not make a decision, which is actually making a decision, not to do it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right.
Or
Yeah.
you can make snap decisions and think, oh my God. And I found when I was in the police, I would say 99% of snap decisions I made were spot on. It's really,
Okay.
really weird. In my personal life, any snap decisions I made were normally wrong. So, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
That
I,
works out.
I think it's also because it's if I look at how we look at ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, and we value ourselves, whether we do or not. I think that very often leads to how we make decisions in life. Whether it's directly involving us or indirectly involving us,
Mm.
and it's based on how we value ourselves. As a police officer, you probably valued your ability to be a police officer much more than your personal life. So
Maybe.
therefore, yeah. So you trusted your ability to make the right decisions in that
Mm.
moment. But for the average person, they don't trust themselves enough. This is why so many people are scared to make those tough calls. And then they end up procrastinating so much. And procrastination is much bigger than people realize.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the population, how many people do procrastinate on an ongoing basis. So, when you're thinking about how do you value yourself, if you can learn how to, if that level, if you're on that scale of, let's say, 1 to 10, where 0 is like, you think of yourself as trash, and 10 is, you look at yourself as a queen or a king or whatever, then if you're on the lower end of that scale, you're not going to make the right decisions, are you? Even if you think that they're the right decisions, because your experience, your history, your past is going to dictate what kind of decisions you make, especially when it comes to powerful decisions,
Yeah.
because often we don't have the tools. But you as a police officer, you valued yourself as a police officer. You
Yeah.
valued the system.
I felt that the decisions I was making were red hot.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and the thing was, obviously, sometimes, I mean, it may not have been the best decision, but
Mm-hmm.
you made it the best decision. If you can see my point.
Yeah.
It's like going to Las Vegas and everything, you're on the crap tables and you're throwing the dice and everything's going your way, because it's going to go your way. I know that doesn't really exist, but when I was in the police, you'd make decisions, and some of them are quite frightening, but you went for it, And as I say, I can't talk about what they are, but they were effective, very
Yeah.
effective, very legal, I have to say. So people don't get the wrong idea, but quite dangerous sometimes. But you can take people by surprise. That's all I'll say. So I never felt like I was powerless in the police,
Okay.
and helpless. I always felt that I was going to win in some way. That doesn't mean to say that the other person lost, by the way. It just meant that the decision I made was a good decision
Mm-hmm.
based on all the information or data or opinions of everyone else, and you gather up what you can at the time, and you make a decision and you go with it. And you find that in business as well. People forget the person who procrastinates for the moment, but think of the person who actually goes for it. I mean, really and truly, what can go wrong? If you make a decision, say, yeah, this looks really good, I'm going to I'm going to get stuck in and do my best and whatever. What can really go wrong? Really?
I
Okay.
mean, if there's no chance of you dying,
No.
in the
So,
process, then how bad can it really be?
yeah, and in most of the businesses I'm involved in, there's no huge outlay anyway.
Yeah.
The only thing you're going to waste is time if you don't use it wisely. Now, I've done that quite a few times, not used it wisely. But so really and truly, it depends on what you're dealing with as well. If your child's in danger, you don't have to worry about procrastinating because you'll just get stuck in and do whatever you need to do. You
And
know.
in all honesty, very often when I mean, you see it when professional servicemen, professional um, soldiers, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
they tend to they tend to, you know, those that are really good at their jobs, whether they in whatever area of servicemen of the military they're in, they tend to make very good snap decisions
Hmm.
because they learn to trust their intuition. Yeah, and it becomes instinct. It literally becomes an instinctive decision all the time. There's no thought that goes into it. It's just a matter of left, right, boom, and they go and they just do it.
Yeah.
And often this is when, and this is the same in business as well. You know, when you trust your own abilities enough, you can make the decisions with the faith that no matter what, you don't even need to necessarily know what the outcome may be or how you're going to get to that outcome. But by trusting yourself enough to make that decision in the moment, the big decision or small decision for that matter, what you're doing is that you're telling the universe that, you know, I know what I'm doing and I'm here to win. I'm here to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the universe will make sure that you come out. You may not come out roses, but it will make sure that you come out on top in some shape, form, or way. And you may need to learn a lesson along that path in order to get there. But at the same time, you're still going to win because you've trusted yourself enough. And it's some things that sometimes I'm dealing with clients and just average, you know, anybody I'm talking to, and I tell them, if you need to make a decision and you're not sure which way to go, how does it feel in your body? Take the decision. You know, like for example, do I stay in my job or do I take on a business venture? You know, and let's just say it's a part-time business venture and you have a job. It's a part-time business venture. You may be contemplating. Now, many people will sit and they'll sit in the wrong space and they'll start to try to make a decision based around those two options without knowing all the information. But you don't have to know all the information. You really don't. Okay. However, if you're going to make a if you're going into that space and you sit and you ask yourself, do I stay in my job, or do I and only do my job, or do I stay in my job and take on a part-time business venture, maybe a full-time business venture, leave my job, how do I feel when I make that decision in my head? Yeah, and then in my body, how does that feel? And this is what I guide. This is how I guide people. Is like, just how does it feel? Does it feel heavy or does it feel light? And you don't need to make sense of it. It doesn't have to be logical. It's just a matter of how does it feel? Does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel light? So, this is a tool that I use with people often, and I do it for myself regularly. If I have to make a decision between A or B, it's how do I feel? But the trick is with that is many people don't understand what the meaning is. Like, they don't understand how do I feel light? How do I feel heavy? They just don't get that because they don't understand themselves enough yet to truly understand what does a heavy feeling feel like and what does a light feeling feel like.
Mm.
And then I can use some analogies or examples from their own history around that too. But it's a great tool to use for yourself. If you're stuck between A or B and you're not sure which one to take, ask yourself the question honestly and openly. Do I take A? How does that feel? Yes, no, maybe. Do I take B? And sit in that for a moment. Sit in that feeling for a moment. Feel it. Feel what it feels like, and then you'll soon learn to trust your own intuition and your own feelings, and then you will invariably make the right decision.
I'm beginning to feel I'm a bit abnormal at the moment. I seem to be one of these people who sees things and goes for it. I mean, you know, regardless of whether I've been lazy with something or other, you know, when I initially see something, if I like it, I go for it. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I wish sometimes I did go A or B, yes or no, you know. But I don't know. Maybe that's just not me. I don't know. But I see, you know, again, apart from early personal life, you know, I seem to make most of the right decisions now.
Good.
I don't know if that's experience or what. I really don't know. You know,
I would surmise to say that it is experience. It's wisdom. It's knowing what's come before, what you've done in the past, and even if you've never experienced that, whatever it is, that decision you need to make before, you've never experienced that example before. You draw on your own experiences from the past and use that, and that's wisdom, right? So, and yes, we can still make a mistake, but because you trusted in yourself and you're trusting your history,
yeah,
you're enabling yourself to make the right decision.
yeah. Now I trust myself in, I would say, virtually all decisions.
Okay.
You know, I didn't think about trust before. I really didn't. You know, it's I just went for it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you have a bit of devilment in you as well. I mean, even when we were going on things like drug deals, I always wanted to be the first through the door. Dealing with drug dealers, I'd always want to be the first through the door.
Did you want to see the looks on their faces? Is that the reason why?
No, I just wanted to surprise them.
Yeah, exactly. See the looks on their faces. Like,
I mean, I'll tell you one thing I did do, and that was I used to sit on the doorstep. If there was a new drug dealer, I used to go and sit on his doorstep and lean against his door and wait for him to open the door, and then I'd fall in and things like that. I never told many people this at all, and I'd just walk in his house, and I'd go, it's just like I'm the new sheriff in town. No, it wasn't. I just basically say, I've been informed you're dealing drugs. It's just a friendly little visit. Suggest that you stop. Maybe consider moving. But I kept it on a very, very friendly basis. I didn't go in there guns blazing or anything, but I just, and
but that doesn't really help, does it? And this is
no. It wasn't even done as a threat. It was. I don't know what I put it down as, really, but I gave them fair warning. I made it an even playing field. So, but anyway, that was a bit of fun. So, trusting yourself is probably the most important thing when it comes to making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is with making decisions is the amount of energy that you use, the mental energy.
It takes a lot more out of you than people realize. It's when you sit hanging on a decision.
Now, if big decisions, okay, fair enough. But sometimes we talk about everyday decisions. Talk about these 70 decisions you make a day, and it could be what I'm going to eat that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I know loads of entrepreneurs that actually prepare all their meals or get them prepared for them the whole week.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even have to think about it, or their clothes are already sorted out and things like that. And it sounds a bit extreme, but I get it.
Oh yeah, and this is why I've used this example before. If you look at people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk,
they're the ones that used to do it. All them type of people, yeah.
Yeah, they wear pretty much the same clothing all the time. They very seldom deviate from a certain way of dress, and that's because it just makes life easier for them. As you say, they don't have the time to use that energy to just try to decide what am I going to wear today.
Yeah.
And they like what they wear, so they buy seven of each.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I get it. I mean, it's
that'd be a bit boring for me, to be honest. But
I don't want to go that far. But I like to think about, as long as you've got the right food, that does appeal to me. I've got to say.
I've done that before in the past. Like when we lived in Dubai, and I'd be out for a large part of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. I would do that. I'd prepare meals in advance, and I'd have everything ready, and I'd have my bag and all that kind of stuff. I don't do that so much today because I'm working from home mostly.
Yeah. And because the other thing is about, you probably, if it's just, I think, is that a single man's or single person's point of view? To have that prepared. Do you think that's more single?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think it has anything to do with you're in a relationship or single. I think it's primarily to do with, as you say, it's about convenience. It's not, you're not using up excess energy unnecessarily mentally by having to think about it all the time. This is probably one of the things that I should probably, or I could probably revisit, is preparing meals in advance. Even though I am working from home most of the time, it would probably serve me better if I wasn't preparing meals on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So, but I like to do that in any case. I like doing something, cooking something, or making something.
I've got to get a little bit more adventurous though. So with cooking.
Yeah.
I think it's just laziness, because I do enjoy cooking, but now just change the subject slightly. Have you ever found that sometimes, I wouldn't say procrastinated so much, but you've spent too much time gathering the data, asking for too many opinions, getting to that analysis paralysis that they talk about, and maybe mental overload? I don't know. Have you ever been in that? And ultimately making the wrong decision or wrong choice because you've spent too long doing it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything right now at the top of my head, but I know for sure I've done that. Oh, yeah. And I know for certainty, because that's something that I used to do excessively. Yeah. I was on that platform. It was just, I would analyze anything, everything, anything that was a decision that was above and beyond my daily routine. Even that, I used to thinking about, what am I going to wear? Because I used to like to wear matching things all the time. So it was like standing there thinking, okay, what am I going to do? This and take that and take this, and that just ends up taking time and energy. I could do it.
And I thought it was laziness. Right. I mean, as you know, I do quite a bit of refereeing and that, and I referee Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, so obviously when I get up in the morning now, I'm prepared to referee. So you can see I've got a tracksuit on, and I mean, look, I think we should spend our time learning to recognise when we've actually made the right decision or on the right path. And I think that if you can do that and do that quickly enough, you can save some of this mental energy that we burn off. So we've got it to use when we're making big decisions.
Yeah, I mean, recognize it in the sense that, you, by recognizing it, you are remembering it. You're able to. Then what you're doing is you're giving yourself the confidence to do that again. As opposed to just being blasé or aloof about it. It's like, yeah, okay, I made a good decision there. No, you made a good decision. Use that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, once you commit to something, and, we're doing several projects at the moment, not all together. And, I think the last project you told me about seems very exciting, and we're not going to go into it, but, but these things come up, and you deal with them, and you make decisions, That's one of the reasons why we retimed these calls. Because of it didn't fit in with what we were doing. So it's
And a lot of that is to do with how do I feel in the moment? How do I feel when I'm, like I've made the decision to pull away from a certain project that I've been involved with for some time now, because of the fact that I just don't feel that I'm able to give as much as I want to, and because it doesn't feel good anymore, I don't want to be directly involved with it, because I'm going to end up dragging as opposed to pulling, or pushing, and it's just, and pulling along with me. So I'd rather not. You're right.
Yeah. I've got a quote here. I wrote down a quote. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt.
So, okay.
So, you know,
So,
I just found that when I was sort of doing a little bit of research, and I just thought that's so right. You know, some people don't do anything.
mhm.
You know, and that must be mentally tiring as well. Not
And why
doing
do you think people? Why do you think people don't do anything?
uninspired, don't think they
Okay.
can do it. They don't trust themselves. They
Yeah.
don't actually don't want anything, or not
Sometimes they
enough.
don't. They, yeah. Yeah. They don't. They
Sometimes they
don't
just want to sit
desire.
there and watch television all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't watch mainstream television. I don't watch the news. I'm not interested in it. All right, because it works again. If you're doing something positive like building a business, it works. I think it works against you listening to all that.
Oh, sure it does. Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
you can call it putting yourself in a cocoon. I call it protecting yourself.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
and yeah,
As I've said to people before, the news, if the news wants needs to find you, it will find you somehow.
yeah.
Otherwise, you don't need to know what the news is. So yeah, you can make a decision very easy on that, on whether you want to or not. Don't, and just give it a try, man. For those of you watching, just that watch this now live or the replay, just give it a try. Just try to do without the news for a month.
Oh yeah.
Without watching the mainstream news for a month, and see how it affects your life. Yeah, and there was something that you were talking about just now, which got me thinking about. If it's important, it will come back to me. If it's not, it won't. It was about when I asked you the question, oh, why do you think people don't make the decisions? Also, look back to our education system,
Oh
okay?
yeah.
The mainstream education system.
Mhm.
What do they focus on? They focus on all the negative stuff. So all the big red crosses. So you go home, you take that report card back to your mom or your dad, and you look at it, and what's the first thing that they're going to look at? The big red crosses. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then they look at that final score, and it's like, ah. So what do we become conditioned to not want to make mistakes because we're fearful of being chastised or whatever. Okay. So we don't we this is what I feel is one of the biggest reasons why people are so terrified to make big decisions. I look at the environment in which I live in, and I look at the environment in which I lived in the Middle East. Now in the Middle East, you can go to a company, and I'm talking about a big company, a conglomerate, all right, and it can take you up to 3 months just to get a contract signed, because there will be maybe 7 directors within the company, or board on the board, and they need to make the decisions, and they won't make that final. They won't. If there's 6 of them, let's say you've got 6 signatures done on a piece of paper for a contract. Okay, that seventh person will drag that out until they actually have to make that signature, because if anything goes wrong, it goes back to them. Okay, because they made the signatures, they gave the okay. And this is prevalent in my experiences in the Middle East and here where I live here in Hungary as well, because people, I watch with parents very often with their kids and stuff, and the kid does something wrong, and it's like the kid gets screamed at and yelled at, and so
Mm.
those kids become terrified. I grew up in that environment as well in South Africa. It's like growing up in the 80s and 90s, and that, well, I didn't grow up in the 90s, I was already grown up by then, but in the 80s, you're growing up there in South Africa, and if you did something wrong, man, there was a chance that you weren't going to just get a clip around the ear. There was you had much bigger consequences, and you become terrified. You become paralyzed in trying to make a decision, because you're going back, you're reverting back to your memories, your experiences.
Yeah, it's risky.
Very risky. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, even when I was in the police, I mean, I made a point of being the opposite of everyone else, well, trying to be the opposite of everyone else. If I made a decision, I made it clear that I made the decision. It doesn't fall on anyone else.
The
It
buck
falls
stops
on
with
me.
you.
Now,
Yeah.
luckily, I would say I've probably got 98% of decisions right. And it was only occasionally that I had to stand in front of a judge at the Crown Court and say, I made a mistake. But I tell you what, it does dispel
Good for you.
80 to 85% of all anger and everything else if you admit you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right?
You talk about that. Sorry, it reminds me of a story from one of the founders of neurolinguistic programming, which I studied. Okay,
Mhm.
and he was in Ireland, and he's an American bloke, but he was in Ireland, and he was speeding. Okay, so he had a rental car and he was speeding, and he had to go to the court
Yeah.
while he was there, and he was watching the judge, and he said he was watching the judge. It was Richard Bandler, and if I remember correctly, I was him, yeah. And he said he was watching the judge. He was sitting in the court, and all these people were coming up to the judge, and each one was like, "No, Your Honor, this is no." And the judge was just slapping those fines or the sentences down. Let's just boom, 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 boom on
Yeah.
each person because they wouldn't admit that they'd done something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So he went up to the judge, and the judge says, "Look, what do you want to say about you were speeding?" And he goes, "Your Honor, I was an idiot. I'm sorry. I had no idea that I was in that, but I take full responsibility for my actions."
Mm-hmm.
And the judge actually was very lenient on him for the sake that he was responsible for his own actions. And I always remembered that story because it's so much about what we talk about, right? What you and I, what we hold true to ourselves and what we teach other people is just take 100% accountability and responsibility for your life and your decisions. And if you do that, regardless of whether it's right, interesting, or wrong, the decision that you've made, it's going to work out for you at the end of the day. Somehow it will work out.
On one occasion it didn't, but it didn't. The judge was absolutely livid, that I'd made a mistake. My God, he made a mistake, and it was a little mistake that became bigger. It cost £40,000, but that's neither here or there. But and it was a genuine error. Although, as I say, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault in the first place, but I didn't mention that. I just said it's my fault. Take the can. Someone's got to take the can, haven't they? Because otherwise, if everyone diffuses it, don't they? Go, oh, it's not my fault. It must be over there.
Yeah, exactly. And this doesn't help anybody at the end of the day.
Anyone. You're right. Right. I mean, my boss just laughed. He went, "It happens." So
Get used to it.
Expecting the worst, and he dismissed it. He just, So, but I just think that decisions have to be made. Step up and make them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like investing, isn't it? If you try there's lots of ways you can invest. Most of them are crap because the interest rates are so bad. But there are some few out there that are very, very good, but they're risky.
Yeah.
So the decision I had to make was: A, am I going to do something? Which decided I was. But you only invest what you can afford to lose.
And this is such a valid point that you can only invest in what you can afford to lose.
Or you don't care.
What's that?
Or you just don't care. You go for it anyway.
I mean, if some people have that gung ho attitude, and they just grab the bull by the horns and they just do it in any case.
Yeah.
But they don't care if they lose or not. They
That's
really
right.
don't. Those people don't care. Unfortunately, most of us are terrified to lose, or to do something wrong, as I touched on just now. So if you cannot afford it, then don't do it.
That's right.
I had the same experience with somebody recently. I was talking to somebody in the UK, and we were going back and forth. And I was looking. He was curious and interested and keen to get on board with me business wise and that. And then it got to a point where I could sense the guy was he was umming and ahhing. And I said to him straight. I said, look, the timing has to be good for you. If you feel this is not right for you right now, and you're not 100% sure that you want to do this, I'd rather you don't do it. You can always come back later stage and we can revisit that, but don't do it now because you feel compelled to do something, because then you're making the wrong decision. Make a decision that's right for you, and whether it turns out right or wrong at the end of the day, that's neither here nor there. But the fact is that you made a decision which you felt at the moment was the right one for you. So do that. Otherwise, don't do it. And he didn't do it. So I was right in my assumption that, yeah, he was terrified. Yeah, it's fine. It's cool. That's okay.
Yeah. So, look, what do? You put yourself in the best position to make the best decision.
Yeah.
And then you go with it. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can ask experts, you can ask for opinion, but you get that gut feeling, right? And as I say, as we find out more about the gut now, it's not just a slang saying.
No,
There is something about making a gut decision because there's a link to the brain. Right?
Because there is a brain in the gut, right?
Your gut knows better than most of us.
There's a lot of validity in that expression.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So anyway, so we know there can be long-term consequences with the decision, but hopefully, if you do the right thing, we're not saying don't do any research, don't do any looking at data or whatever it is you need to make a decision, okay? But don't overdo it because you'll tip the balance, you'll go over that curve, and you'll never make the decision. There's a point you stop at and you have to make a decision, and know why you're making it, and as I say, some decisions are made for you and there's not a lot you can do about that. I mean, I respect people who make decisions, throw themselves into difficult problems, make quick choices and just go for it, and I enjoy the little bit of the risk there,
Oh yes, yeah. That's I did that once before. I arrived in London, so this was my second time in London, 1996. I arrived there, and a very good friend of mine at the time, who I went to school with, he was in London at the time. I get there, he says, "Okay, this was on a middle of the week. I arrived in London." He said, "This weekend we're going to Scotland for a few days. And then when we get back, I'm going to the Channel Islands to go work on the Channel Islands for the summer and the spring." And I was like, "And what about me?" And he goes, "No, I didn't think about you." And I said, "Well, thanks, man." So in any case, after a couple of phone calls, I just knew I needed to go, because at the end of the day, I could have gone and found a nice job in London and got work and stuff like that. But something told me I needed to go. I just instinctively knew this was the right thing for me to do, is go to the Channel Islands. And that was one of the best 7 months of my life, was working in the Channel Islands then. I didn't think about it. I just made the decision and phoned them in the Channel Islands. They said, "If the man can do what he says he can do, bring him over with you." And I did. I went over, and 7 months there, and man, it was what a blast. What a blast. And I was in my 20s, and I didn't care if I made the wrong decision or not. But I just knew at the time that was the right thing to do.
When you're young, you think you're indestructible. You don't feel like you're going to make any wrong decisions anyway.
Yeah, and then when you get older and you have a family and you have responsibilities, it becomes so much harder. And I totally get that, of course. I mean, both of us do, And when you have other people that are accountable, you're accountable to other people, and people are depending on you as well. It becomes a lot harder to make a decision. But again, I go back to, how do I feel? How do you feel when you're thinking about the option? Yes, yay, nay, left, right, A or B. And I just revert back to that. And if you're not sure how to read how you feel, just practice it with small decisions, small things. Practice. Practice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a few wins under your belt.
Exactly. Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention is about making future-based decisions. Because the problem is, I have to say, I nearly said it, but I have two people that make decisions that I know, and they're based on now. They're based on this minute, this hour, today. They don't take into account what's going to happen tomorrow or next week, right? So take that into account. But having said that, make decisions. You can make long-term decisions at a very early age. And I made a long-term decision at the age of 15 that I wanted to join the police. by the time I got to 19, when I actually joined as a police officer, okay, my decision was the same. And I joined it because I was told they had a good pension.
Okay.
And I thought, well, that takes care of the next, I could do my 30 years and then that takes care of the next 30 years.
Cool.
Right?
Okay.
And I thought about that at a very early young age. And it proved right.
Good for you.
That's what I'm saying. So I did 33 years in the police. And now, I'm in my 16th or 17th year of
retirement.
So
we don't want to use the word retirement because you're not
no. Not retired from the police.
Yeah.
Not from everything else.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, you make a decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then people say, "Well, you're fortunate. You've got a pension. You've got this and that." I went, "No, you have to understand. I made that decision in my teens because I knew what was coming."
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying about making future-based decisions. You can make a decision today that may not come to fruition for 4 or 5 years.
And this is the other thing. Who are you making the decision for? Are you making the decision for yourself or for other people?
No, me.
Because that's no. And I mean, I know in your example that was for you. Yeah. But I'm talking to the viewers here. Like, who are you making a decision for? Is this decision the answer based on you, or is it who's it for? And this, again, it goes back to many cultures. People tend to make decisions based on the people that they hold dear to themselves, whether family, things like that. They make decisions based on that rather than for themselves. And sometimes we have to be selfish when making decisions, because by being selfish, you're setting yourself up for success, number one, more likely than failure, if it's the right decision, if it feels good. And number two, you're going to inadvertently impact the people around you in any case.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's the same like with us. How often have you heard it when you're talking to somebody about joining a business, and then they say, "Oh, I need to go speak to my spouse." Okay, fine. But who are you making the decision for? Is it for you or for your spouse? Yeah. Do you want to do this or not? And if you don't, then you don't. If you do, you do. But say that, and then go and have that discussion if you have to.
I must admit, I've never asked anyone.
What?
Well, no, because I look at it
for permission
to do something. And the reason being is that I don't ask someone's permission to go and get a job.
Yeah, exactly.
I decide what job I'm going to go after, and then I go after it.
Yeah,
I don't.
Exactly.
I mean, you might. I'm not saying you won't have a discussion about it, but you make a decision, and as long as it's not going to impact. Say if you're married, and if it's going to impact the other person, then you've got to go and discuss it with them. Like if but when I joined the police, I wasn't married, and it was I made a decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you don't make joint decisions, because that's obviously part of if you're in a
marriage,
in a relationship,
or relationship,
and so what I am saying though, at some stage, someone has to take the bull by the horns and do it,
or take the balls and do it.
Someone's got the ball, So, I mean, generally speaking, I've always been sort of proactive, and I would encourage people to be proactive. If you go down the wrong route, you'll know soon enough.
Be brave.
You can always change it. You can always change it. So yeah. So anything else about decisions that we need to know, Warren?
I don't think there's anything else that we need to know, but the folks out there, if there is anything else that they need to know or you need to know, then just reach out to myself or Paul.
Yeah.
And we can just have a chit chat, have a virtual coffee, and help you to figure it out for yourself. Simple as that.
Ooh,
really.
There was one last thing.
Okay.
And you'll know exactly where I'm coming from when I say this. And we deal with the hero's journey. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't about me being a hero or you being a hero. What we're referring to is everyone being their own hero. and being part of their own story, you know. And I think it's important that we talk to people about business opportunities and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's not about what the business is so much. It's more about what the business can do for that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the example we were given was someone who wanted to send their 2 children to private school. Okay. So that's going to cost X amount of money over a certain amount of years. So that's their driving force. So by starting their business, right, and taking care of that, the money for the private education is putting themselves in their own hero's journey.
Yes, creating their own hero's journey. True.
Yeah. So that's important. Put yourself in your own hero's journey, no matter what you do.
Good point.
Make good decisions, but make decisions. Make decisions. Don't procrastinate. Get on with it and do it. Commit to something. You know.
Yeah, if you can't make a decision, you can't do anything, right?
Absolutely.
Or otherwise, it'll be forced upon you. Someone will force you to make. They will make a decision for you if you're not willing to make the decision for yourself.
Yeah.
It's. I can see this in certain industries around the world where people are losing their jobs on a regular basis. Or they're losing their work, they're losing clients, they're losing job, whatever, in their income. That they're too terrified to make the decision in advance of what they can themselves should be able to see. That the day's going to come when they're not going to have business or a job anymore. So they need to make a decision sooner than later. But instead of creating their own hero's journey, they sit back and they wait for somebody else to do it for them. And then it's too late by then.
So the hero's journey is a bit like a plan B. But the difference being is that you've already got your why. You've already got your drive, because the hero's journey is because you're taking care of something that was really passionate for you, and something that you can get on and do. So you got anyone out there wants to join it, get in the hero's journey, give us a shout. We'll pop in the right direction, So definitely. With that, I think we're done here, and it's gone on quite a long time. But I think it's important. It's an important subject, making decisions, and it's the type of thing you could actually sit here and talk about all day long.
I think it's time to make a decision. What's that?
We wouldn't have been making a decision. We need to get on and do things. So everyone have a fantastic day, and then we'll speak soon.
Have a beautiful week, everybody, and see you on Wednesday at healthylife.tv.
What's the subject? Can you remember? Oh, you thought of it, didn't you? What is it again?
I can't remember now. I'm focusing on what we're talking about. Just hang on a second. Uno momento, s'il vous plaît.
Oh, you're going to look it up now, aren't you?
I'm going to go back and have a look at it. Yeah.
On Messenger.
Oh, yes. It's about the silent killer and playing the game with the silent killer. The silent killer.
I know what that is.
Yeah. So if you don't know what the silent killer is, and you know that it's based on healthylife.tv, then you can start thinking of your own creative ideas as to what it may be, what it may pertain to. But otherwise, tune in on Wednesday to find out. Same time, folks.
www.healthierlife.tv.
Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, one thing. If you found this useful, please like, share, comment, and make sure if you feel it's useful for someone else, please share it with them as well. So
and the more likes that you give us, especially the little heart likes, it helps us as well. It helps our podcast to grow.
And it makes us trust ourselves because we made the right decision. All right, we're going. Okay. See you later, everyone. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.